What is going on, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome back to a very special episode of the Kingdom Says. It is mock draft warfare day, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for joining us on this one. This is a very special episode for us over here at the Kingdom Says. This is one of our favorite episodes of the year, mock draft warfare, a mock drafting exercise that we go through and we all make a bunch of picks. We'll explain it in a second, but first off, let me explain the beautiful people that are joining me today. First off, Mr. Kyle Henning. How are you tonight, Kyle?
I'm torn because I'm excited and happy about this episode, but my hockey night has been very poor so far. So a little bit of best and worst of the world, but ready to do this this episode. This is probably, like Garrett said, this is one of my favorite episodes that we do every year. This is a lot of fun. We go through a lot of conversation and topic discussion as far as players are concerned during this. All of the last couple of months have been building up to this, so excited to get rolling.
It is very exciting. You're right, Kyle. Also joining us, Mr. Thomas Pike, Arrowhead Tom. How are you tonight, Tom?
Oh, I am great, Garrett. As we've already said, this is one of my favorite nights of the years. I got the spectacles on, and I'm prepared to be a spectacle. Kyle's over there watching hockey, and you know what? If you think about it, hockey is just baseball on the ice.
It's just that's a pre-show callback that really it doesn't make sense it makes sense if you don't think about it. Isn't that right, Randy? Also joining us, Mr. Randy Ellenberger. How are you, Randy?
I am doing awesome. Yes, the pre-show giggles running into the real show, but yeah, this is year 3 for me, I think, on the mock draft warfare, and it's a blast. It's a lot of fun. So let's see if we can hit on a few more guys like we did last year.
Yeah, you're 3 for Randy. You're 6 for us doing this. This is the 6th annual edition, which is kind of crazy to think that we've been on microphones talking with you guys for 6 years here and doing this each and every time. So it's a very fun exercise. We're glad to do it, and this is kind of the last hurrah that we do before the actual NFL draft happens, which is later this week. Thursday night kicks off the NFL draft. So, yeah, it's very exciting. Very, very exciting. First and foremost, before we get into it, we should probably explain how this works a little bit. And you know, as the game goes on, it'll make more sense to you guys. But essentially, we go in a snake draft type of order where, you know, we each select a position at each pick that the Chiefs have. So we're gonna go with 5 different picks this year. So we have the 2 first-round picks, the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th-round pick. And essentially, we go around, and at each pick, we make a selection. And after you make a selection, no one else at that pick can choose that position again. So, for example, if Kyle, who is going to be the one of the I forget who's leading, Kyle or Randy will lead off. We'll maybe have them duke it out for it. Randy's going to be the starter. So Randy, you know, with this first pick, he could say Fernando Mendoza, for example. And then all of a sudden, you know, nobody else at that pick 9 can then choose a quarterback. So then it has to go to the next person, and, you know, Kyle will choose a long snapper, and then no one else can choose a long snapper at that pick, et cetera, et cetera. Yes. And it'll go around as a snake draft will. So the order is going to be Randy, Kyle, me, and then Tom. So then Tom will have the last pick, pick 9, and then he'll have the first pick of pick 29. So you'll see how it goes. It's a fun exercise, and it's really challenging because, you know, you never quite know who's going to be available at these picks in real life. There's always, you know, it's hard to really predict if the guys that you expect to be there aren't there. So this is kind of a, you know, handicapping yourself even further and trying to make the best of what you can with the board that falls to you. So with that being said, before we kick off the exercise, we should talk a little bit of Chiefs news, speculation, draft talk, all that type of stuff. In the news this week, you know, draft season, the smoke screens are all real, right? The smoke screens have been going crazy. There's a lot of speculation of trading up, trading down, you know, teams, insiders of different markets reporting different things. Tom, at this current time in the Chiefs draft speculation world, where do you think the Chiefs are kind of leaning towards as far as, you know, what their plans might be? I know Brett Veach's press conference a couple of days ago, he said, you know, it's going to be an exciting one potentially. There might be a lot of trades. What do you think is real and what's not real?
Yeah, I mean, the Chiefs play it pretty close to the best, and they also, it feels like there's a lot of national media who don't have as many connections to the Chiefs organization, especially in terms of the draft stuff, who like to put things out there. And that's not me trying to throw shade or discredit anyone. I think that there's a lot of national media folks who you can tell which people are familiar with this roster and who aren't. You know, now I understand they also have connections that I don't have and we don't have, and they may hear some things, but I I feel relatively confident that some of this is misdirection. Brett Veach has a history of being aggressive and trading up in the draft. One of the big ones that was going around was trading up to number 3 with Arizona. I've expressed this a handful of times. So to get to number 3, your starting point is probably number 9, number 29, and then a second or third round pick next year, and then maybe even a day 3 pick this year or next year. It is an expensive jump. I don't think there's a player who you could justify doing that for. If you gave up a 2027 first round pick, it might cost you your job, even with everything Brett Veach has done. That 2027 class, I know we say it every year. I've gotten into it a little bit, but it's projected to be a lot deeper than this class. Um, we'll see how that plays out, but that's one of the conversations that's happening. I think there's some more premier pass rushing talent in next year's class. There's a lot of quarterbacks who are going to push those positions of need that the Chiefs have down the board a little bit. And let's just be realistic. I know you have the best player on the planet on your roster. You still went 6-11 last year, and you had major issues on this roster even before he got hurt. So I it would be wise to keep some capital. The other part of that is, how would you feel if really what this came down to is you essentially traded Trent McDuffie to move from 9 to 3, right? That to me is bad value, because now you are creating a hole on your team, and you're only getting one player back really. And I mean, I know there's the day 3 picks and the third round pick next year, but I'm talking, in the short term, you get essentially a 1-for-1 trade, and you're gambling a lot there. So I think if you want, what I think is probably more reasonable or more likely is that they stick and pick at 9, and then it wouldn't surprise me if they moved up from 29, because that would be a little less, and that's more their familiar range, kind of more their strategy. If they do make a jump up, I think it would be a smaller one. I think getting in front of New Orleans and Washington are priorities for this team, because there's a lot of overlap with team needs between those 3. So keep an eye on Cleveland, who I think probably wants an offensive lineman, probably doesn't love an offensive lineman at 6. So that's my thought process on it. I The only player that I would go, okay, I can at least understand why you do it, would be moving to 3 for Arvell Reese. You paid all that and you said, hey, we really think this is going to be an Abdul Carter type prospect or a Micah Parsons type prospect. But even that is a huge gamble. Uh, Love the kid as a player, a young player, highly, touted, but it's just a lot. So those are all my thoughts on it. I do think Chiefs Twitter overreacted a little bit to that speculative news. So there's that too.
Yeah, well, I mean, the big thing, and Kyle, you can attest to this, a lot of times if there's speculation coming out, it's usually probably from one side, not usually the Chiefs side. I think, especially like the report of the Cardinals, moving up to 3. I think that's maybe the Cardinals trying to float out maybe some news of, hey, this pick is hot. People are interested, I know the Cowboys have been in the news. I mean, there's been a lot of reporting from different, medias and fan bases, but it doesn't seem like a lot of it's like the Chiefs side. It's like everyone else, hearing what their team is doing. You know what I'm saying?
I think there was a lot of reaction to what Schrager said, because Schrager had Veach on his podcast. I believe he was the only GM that he had on the show during that time period at the meetings, whatnot, the conversations there. He also knows several different individuals in Kansas City, and you've kind of watched his what they're kind of thinking evolve over the last month or so. There's been some different things that he said that have kind of been have changed as they've gone, and I think that's probably because the sourcing that he's getting and the information that he's getting is now becoming more cohesive, because he was probably talking to separate individuals who had separate mindsets 2 months ago. And now, as we approach, this mindset becomes more unified as we get closer. The sides kind of get more, the scouting side, the GM side, the player development side, they all start to kind of mesh the ideas together, so the picture gets a little more clear. You still have Brett doing all of his, I swear I'm really honest, and he probably is being honest, but probably not in the way that you think he's being honest on purpose. I do think there's going to be trades this year. I don't think it's going to be from 9 anywhere necessarily. I think Tom mentioned 29 as an opportunity to potentially move if you like somebody earlier. I honestly think it's potentially more in the second and third round range, where they can use a couple of those fifth rounders that they have built up as ammunition to go position themselves for guys that they really, really, really identified that they want in this second and third round in this day 2 area. That's to be more likely where they would go as a strategy option. He does like to move. He does like to trade. However, he usually likes to do it where he doesn't have to spend as much to do so, unless he is just dead set sold on a guy. So if they go up to 3, it's because they think the best player in the draft on their board is sitting there. I think would probably be why they would go to 3. If 6, I could understand. If you want to get ahead of Washington and New Orleans for a specific guy that you're worried about them taking, I've seen a lot of activity, and especially in simulators, with Baltimore moving up in front of New Orleans, or with New Orleans, or with Kansas City. Same thing, same thought process. Usually that's for a guy like, if Sonny Styles is still there, or if Jeremiah Love is still there. You see that happen a lot in these simulators and a lot of these rumored things. So, like I said, I wouldn't assume that anything's happening at 9 unless they legitimately think the best player on their board in this draft that isn't Fernando Mendoza is there at 3.
And it all really depends, Randy, on who that top guy on their board might be. If it's a guy like David Bailey, it's not good. Arvell Reese, understandable. Ruben Bain, understandable. But I think, and I know you agree, Randy. In this draft, I just don't know if it's worth trading up for something like that.
And that's the thing that I'm going to stick to my guns here. I don't think there's a single player in this draft worth trading up for. I honestly don't, because everyone knows that I can't stand David Bailey. I do like Ruben Bain. I really like Downs. I like Sonny Styles. I like Reese, but there's a lot of unknown with him. So I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about, like, would it even, like, why would you mortgage the farm for a player in this draft when, if you really break it down, like, everybody knows I'm a big Bain fan, but, like, when it comes to the production and the fit, it's like there's not a huge drop off from Bain to guys like Parker, Zion Young, Malachi Lawrence. Like, why mortgage the farm to move up for somebody like that when the next guy in the next tier isn't that far off from the guys in the first tier? And some of my favorite players that we count as blue chip or best guys in this draft, like Love and Downs. While I love Love, we just signed our running back. Now that would arguably probably just make his 3-year deal a 2-year deal, or maybe a 1-year deal, like Kyle mentioned pre-show. But Downs also, like, we have 2 young safeties on our roster, and we signed Gilman. So safety's not a huge need. Now Downs is better than all 3 of them, and that's not a question. But again, it's that position of need. Like, so I sit there and I try to roll around all these, scenarios and hypotheticals in my head, and, like, none of it makes sense to me. Now, granted, I am not Brett Veach. I am not an NFL GM, but I happen to think I know a little bit about football, and I'm kind of a realist when it comes to this stuff. But I'm like, none of it makes sense to me still. So they can throw all the smoke and nonsense and rumors and hypotheticals and do this. I was like, no. I was like, with this draft, stay pat at 9, take the best player available. Our team is not devoid of talent. Are there holes? Yes. Can we fill those holes with the draft picks that we have? Absolutely. So Stick to the board. Don't think you're smarter than everybody else in the room. Don't do something stupid. Just let the draft come to you. BPA, roll with it, and let's fucking go win another ring.
Yeah, smokescreen season is definitely just it just confuses everybody. You put everything out, and the goal is to make it so that nobody knows what you're doing, and then you usually end up usually getting a guy that you like. So
And I
with that being
apologize for
said,
dropping my first F-bomb in like 3 years. I've done really, really good, I think, on
Randy's
keeping
very
that.
passionate about staying in the BPA. So that's what we're gonna do today. Ain't no trades on our mock draft warfare. That's we just stick with the picks that we got, and we let Brett Veach handle all that craziness later. So without further ado, I think let's kind of get into this sucker. Okay, so here is our simulator. Here is the layout. We got the order on the right side of your screen. If you're watching at home on YouTube or Spotify, you can watch on Spotify too. By the way, fun fact. It's a pretty neat little feature. So we got Randy, Kyle, me, and Tom, and then it'll reverse after each round, et cetera, et cetera. This is the board. This is the mock draft simulator that we are using for today. The A to Z Sports draft simulator that they came out with this year. Shout out to our guy Charles Goldman over at A to Z Sports. They have a really good simulator. I think we all really like this thing as soon as it came out. It's very accurate. It's got a clean layout. It's just good. It's just a nice simulator. So we're going to be using this one for today. And as you can see, the first 8 picks have already been made. So I don't know if there's a ton of big surprises. We got Fernando Mendoza, Arvel Reese going at 2, Sonny Styles, Francis Mauigoa, Caleb Downs, Mansour Delane, maybe a little bit of a wild card there at 6 with Cleveland. David Bailey at 7, and then Jordan Tyson at 8, the first wide receiver off the board. So with that being said, Randy, we are at pick 9. We have the available picks on this right side of the screen right here. And you are up to bat, my friend, to start off Mock Draft Warfare 6.0, 2026 edition. What do you think?
Yeah, fantastic. So, not a lot of surprises other than really delaying there in the first few picks. Odds are Love will not be around at this pick. So, I mean, my prize gem is sitting right there, so I'm not going to waste a ton of time. With the 9th pick in this year's draft, the Kansas City Chiefs will select Ruben Bain. I think just with our roster and where we're sitting, like we don't pick this high very often. We need a difference maker. He can play edge. He can slide in for some other interior pass rush moves. It just makes too much sense at this point, and I think it is probably our biggest area of need. I do really like Tate at this point as well. He is my favorite wide receiver in this draft at this point, but Bain is my pick here.
Yep, that's a pretty solid pick there, Randy. I cannot lie. I mean, that is definitely the layup, the easy one that I think we would all be very, very happy about. And we've talked about Ruben Bain a lot during this draft cycle, and he is a dog. He is a good one. So that is a very solid pick. Kyle, you are up next, sir. Ruben Bain is off the board, and that also means edge rusher is off the board for anyone else at this pick. I'd have a lot of arguments if someone else decided to choose any other edge rusher here. Just saying. So, Kyle, what are you thinking?
So Randy already said Jeremiah Love's probably not here at this point. Also, positionally for me at this, remember at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, the mock draft warfare is also a competition game for us because we all get to want to get players right of players that Kansas City is going to take potentially. So I'm not going to take Jeremiah Love here, no matter how much I do really wish he was a Chief. The Kenneth Walker deal makes it make not a lot of sense. Yeah. Unless you're going to make that a 2-year only deal and really just take a room from a C- to an A+. That for me then goes with Randy taking Ruben Bain, who is who I would have chosen here. At that point, we go to the wide receiver room. You've got 2 that are both worthy of being a pick here. I'm going to take Carnell Tate. I like Carnell Tate's size, his production. He's coming from an NFL wide receiver as a coach for years and years, and Brian Hartline. They have been a production factory at that position. He is an excellent player. You can pick your poison. I understand the arguments for Mekhi Lemon, but I will take Carnell Tate.
That's very valid. Yeah, it is a very valid selection, I think. You're lucky that wide receiver didn't make it to me because I would have gone the other. I would have gone the other.
I know. That's why I talked about Mekhi.
We all know.
But I would not hate Tate as well if he was the pick. Yeah, that does make this pick for me a little challenging though, because now I can no longer select wide receiver or edge rusher. I think in real life there's a chance that Caleb Downs would still be here. I would not hate the opportunity for that. Even if a guy like Sonny Styles was here, I wouldn't hate the opportunity for that as well. With the board that we have left, there's Jeremiah Love, which I was even before the Kenneth Walker deal, I wasn't necessarily a fan of doing that, even though Love is a dog. There's a couple tackles here, and there's a corner, Jermad McCoy here, Kenyon Sadiq. There's a couple guys here that could sneak into that top 10 category. I think for me, I don't necessarily love having to make this pick, but with the board and the way that the exercise works, I'm going to go ahead and select Jermad McCoy. I think he's. I don't necessarily think you have to go corner top 10 to replace Trent and Jalen Watson necessarily, but Jermad McCoy is a hell of a player, and I do think there are scenarios similar to this scenario, I think, where Bain is off the board anyways in real life, and even maybe one of the wide receivers. Technically Tyson went before us at 8. I think there's a chance that Chiefs might not be in love with some of those guys, and McCoy is sitting there, and he missed last year due to injury, but he has some really good tape the year before, and he has all the traits that you want for just a solid shutdown corner. I do think it'd be a stark reinvestment into the corner position, even though we historically don't invest that much into it. But choose good players. If you have a good player on your board, you gotta choose them. So I'm gonna go with Jermad McCoy, and that goes to Tom. Tom, you cannot choose corner, wide receiver, or edge at this pick. What are you thinking?
You fools. You have played directly into my hand.
Yeah.
Long snapper. Here we go.
So which tackle?
Call me Billy Eyelash for this one because I am going to be the bad guy. I know
Bad
the
guy.
Chiefs Kingdom does not want an offensive tackle at 9, and I don't either.
Mm-hmm.
But with the limits and the options that I have, that
Spencer Fano or Mason Freely?
Oh, no, hold on. This is my turn. It's my turn. Get off the stage. It's my turn. I'm announcing my pick. I don't. We talked about this in our rankings. I don't love these tackles. My go is gone. I'm gonna go with the guy who has the measurables and the upside, who I think who can be a right tackle, and if something poor happens and you need somebody on the left side, he can be there. We're going Monroe Freeling out of Georgia.
That's what I kind of expected. He does fit the measurement
I
requirement.
mean, you're shaking your head. Would you rather have Spencer Fano?
You know how I feel about late risers when it comes to offensive linemen. We've had that discussion. While Freeling was a good prospect throughout the course of the year, like he really didn't shoot up into that early to even first round draft talk until the combine or a week or so after. While I think he's a really good football player, is he a first round tackle? Probably. Is he a top 10 tackle? I don't necessarily think so. So I guess if I had gun to my head, if I had to take Fano or Freeling, I take Fano. But
Tom has gone the other way, so we will select
gone the other way, and that's not the first time.
I like your tackle big and strong, not.
Yep. So we will select Freeling with that pick.
I just really like how Fano makes everybody's favorite edge rusher, David Bailey, look like a child. So,
okay, well, we are here at pick 29, and if we kind of evaluate the previous couple picks that have came off the board before us, Casey Concepcion goes right before us, Caleb Banks, Caden McDonald, Akeem Messidor, a couple really good players. Got to go, in what we think would be a viable trade up range potentially. the
Yep.
early to mid 20s, a couple solid defenders that go off the board. So, Tom, you're back up to the plate with the snake draft. What are you thinking here?
Yeah. Show me the edge group real quick. I want to see.
Yeah, so we got
Okay.
Howell, Parker, Thomas, Young, Akis. A lot
We
of
can go back
guys.
to the whole page. I've got. This comes down to really two players for me. Let me see corner real quick.
Corner. We got Chris Johnson, Colton Hood, Cisse.
Um, yeah, I mean, all right, we're going edge.
Okay.
I understand that we're trying to predict um, what Brett Veach would do, and there's three guys that I really think, four guys really, Parker, Young, Akis, and Lawrence, who are all um, who fit what they typically look for at defensive end. I'm gonna trust my evaluation and know that Brett Veach is smart like me, and I'm gonna go with Zion Young here.
Yeah, that was the expected one. We know Tom loves his Zion Young.
I do love
Maybe
me some
a little
Zion.
rich at 29, but hey, you gotta like who you like, and he's not gonna potentially be available at 40, so you gotta do what you gotta do. Okay, so it's back to me now. Edge is off the board, which is quite unfortunate because I do think Edge is a priority that we should take a first round pick on this year. Defensive tackle, there's a couple names. Lee Hunter could potentially sneak into that first round combo. There's a couple wide receivers. I do like Omar Cooper Jr. I do like him as a player. I already chose a corner, so I don't want to choose another corner. That would be crazy. I don't think you should choose two corners. I don't love how this is shaping up for me so far. I'm not going to lie to you, fellas. I don't necessarily love how this is shaping up. Blake Miller is there. I mean, shoot. Blake Miller is still there. Yeah, I guess I'm gonna go for the safe pick. And is it the safe pick though? I'm torn, guys. I'm torn. So I don't like Denzel Boston really. I like Chris Bell more, but picking him at 29 just feels rich. But if I don't pick him now, then I never get him.
I think if he didn't get hurt, he would have been probably in the conversation for a first rounder.
Yeah,
So
I like him a lot. Omar Cooper I like too, but I do almost feel like I like Chris Bell more than him. We're gonna do Chris Bell. F it. We're gonna select Chris Bell at pick 29, and we'll just figure out how to rush the passer some other time. We'll sign Cam Jordan. He's still available, right? Kyle, what do you got for us? Edge edge and wide receiver are off the board now.
So with the parameters here, it gets interesting. Will you do me a favor and pull up the cornerback group real quick one more time there?
Yeah.
What is the tight? Is Stowers the only tight end left? I'm assuming Sadiq is
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah, he's gone.
Tackle.
Tackle, you got Miller, you got Ihanachor. Yeah. That's how you say his name.
Ihanachor.
Yeah.
Ew. This is gross, boys and girls.
The deep realities of the draft sometimes,
I if they're going to address it, I would be fine with Blake Miller. So I guess that's where I'm gonna go.
Okay, Blake Miller.
If you're gonna take a tackle and you're not gonna do it at 9, and you still actually have major concerns there, which I don't think they do, but it's an option. And he was 2-time All SEC or back-to-back All First Team All SEC player, not whatever it was. I mean, he's a big boy. He's 6'7". He's a big dude. So 55 starts, he'll be fine. I don't like it, but I understand if they're going to take a tackle and he's there at 29, I get taking a pick.
Yep. Okay, Randy.
Randy,
you're up on the
Godspeed,
you're up to
Spider-Man. Good luck.
All right, so wide receiver, offensive tackle, and edge are no longer available for me. So
bat. Yep.
That's correct.
sitting here at 29, I think my best route is to look at the interior defensive linemen that are left. Christian Miller, Lee Hunter. I like both of those guys. Let me see the corners.
Yep. Yeah. Chris Johnson, Colton Hood.
Yep. So Chris Johnson, to me, I don't see him as a great fit for us. He's more of a zone corner. We play way too much press man, which is not his strong suit. Colton Hood is a bit of a dog. He has grown on me a lot lately, but I do have a corner who I think I'm going to target later. So let's jump back to the defensive tackles, and I'm going to take Christian Miller.
Okay, Kristen Miller. Randy loading up on the D line to start this
Out
thing.
of Georgia.
Gets
Taking
He's a solid
guys, that's
run stuffing monster in there, and with the way this played out, I mean, I like the idea of corner here. I also like the idea of wide receiver. But as I was not able to take wide receiver, and I do have my eye on a corner here in a little bit, I decided to go a different route.
That's valid. Okay, well, let's draft Kristen Miller here and see who else goes before pick 40 here. So there's a couple guys, Ian off the board, Chris Johnson off the board. There's a couple guys off the board, but still a lot of options here. Still a lot. I mean, you still have Colton Hood here, Randy.
Garrett, which wide receiver did you take?
I chose Chris Bell.
Chris Bell.
Yeah.
All right. So just out of curiosity, what wide receivers are still available at this point?
So besides Chris Bell, you've got Chris Brazzell, Jeremy Bernard, Malachi Fields, Ted Hurst.
No.
Could pick him at 9.
Yeah, scratch the wide receivers. Pull up corner again.
Yeah, corner, you have same guys essentially besides Chris Johnson. So
let's see here. We're good. I don't want to tackle here. We went interior defensive line. I'm going to take Hood here. I'm going to take Hood. This is not where I was thinking about taking the corner I was looking at, but as this plays out, I was seriously thinking about taking him at 29. So him being available at 40 is awesome. I think this kid is really. With McCoy out, he really stood out and played his ass off, and he's physical, he's versatile. I would be super happy with Hood at 40.
I think that'd be a good choice.
I alluded to this in the group chat today, but now that you've taken Hood, I won't share it. Well, I will share it. I learned today that Colton Hood's father, Roderick Hood, played in the NFL, but not only played in the NFL, but he was Patrick Peterson's private cornerback coach throughout Peterson's career.
I did read that.
Yeah, I did not know that. And obviously, Hood's not the same athlete as Pete, but we talk about those man press skills. You're like, oh, I see that now.
Wow.
Yep.
That's very interesting. Fun factoid on him. So that's good. All right, Kyle. So you can't choose corner.
No.
What are you thinking?
I want to look at the edge room here. And okay, so those two are still there, which is what I thought. And then real quick into the safety room.
Safety. Halsey.
Yeah, too rich for me yet. Still, still too rich for the other thing. What? Show me the tight ends real quick.
Still got Stowers.
He's still
good.
there.
Still good.
I really, really like Eli Stowers a lot. I think 40 would probably be a little rich. Take me to the edge group, please. We will be making the selection from there. I'm going to pick the guy I like the best out of the two, even though I think Tom was right on with that list of 4 that he listed as potential guys that kind of are things the Chiefs like. And I'm going to go with Mr. Malachi Lawrence out of the University of Central Florida. I like him a lot. I think he fits well with what Kansas City likes to do. He's an athlete. You're not going to be confused by his athletic ability. He's strong. His hands are solid. He gets active with them. I like him a lot. I'm good with Malachi Lawrence there at 40 as the edge option, since that's how that went.
That's very good. I'm never going to get an edge rusher, and that's just something I have to accept. Basically, it's just a fate I have to accept. But luckily, Kyle didn't even look at defensive tackles. That's kind of nice because that's I
Nope.
think.
I got somebody for later for that, so I didn't even bother.
Yeah, so I'm liking for me sitting here, like I've already chosen a corner and a wide receiver. Stowers is good. I do like Stowers. Tackle. I'm not liking really any of the tackle options that are there. Really, if I had my way, I would actually choose Gabe Akis. I like him a lot.
Yep, I understand it. I just prefer Lawrence. It's a coin flip for me between the two. I just prefer Lawrence slightly more than Akis.
Yeah. So it comes to D tackle, I think for me at this pick 40 here, and really, I mean, part of me wants to go Grayson Halton. You guys know I love me some Grayson Halton. I think realistically though, Lee Hunter would be a lot better option. Especially at 40, I think it's a solid. Yes. I mean, he's a solid pick. Like he's going to be a lot. He's going to contribute probably a lot more for you. So I'm gonna go with Lee Hunter. I like him. I like him as a player a lot. And he's a big mountain of a dude up there. So
this is a sweet spot. Which in most of my mock drafts that I do, this is my number 40 pick. 90%.
Yeah, that is a solid sweet spot for him. I think 29 might be rich, but if you can get him at 40. That's a good deal. So, Tom.
All right, Tom.
Corner,
wide receiver,
edge, and D tackle are off the board. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm not stressed. Real quick, show me wide receiver.
Yeah, besides Chris,
he also is also not on the board.
Brazzle.
We'll wait on receiver. What about show me safety and linebacker real quick?
No.
Okay.
Or another guy.
There is my guy. Gosh, there's some good guys left. I think the Chiefs are. Man, this is hard. I think the Chiefs are in a market for a linebacker more than what a lot of people are talking about. I also think there's some really good names here, and I'm okay waiting. So I'm going to go with A.J. Halsey, the safety out of LSU, which is really more of a pick that I would make. I think more than maybe what the Chiefs are interested in. He's a really underrated player and can do a little bit of everything. We talk about him in the positional breakdown, but I just think he's the best value here.
Okay, I like it. We're going to choose Halsey at this.
Crazy with the cheese whiz, Thomas.
So now we'll cycle through to a little ways away in the third round here.
Yeah.
And
you wait a while when you do these. Draw my mocks and whatnot.
These great names going off the board, unfortunately, and then you see what you're left with. So, Tom, it's back to you. The board is wide open.
And
there's a lot of
one of the linebackers.
Real quick.
Which one did you say? I'm sorry.
Wide receiver.
Wide receiver. Yeah. Ooh. Dog.
Yeah, let me see the all tab. This should be pretty easy for me. Yeah, this is an easy one. I just said I think that the Chiefs are in the market for a linebacker. I'm not as high on Jacob Rodriguez as some people, but also some people aren't as high on Anthony Hill as me, so it's kind of a flavors thing. But I do love Jacob Rodriguez. I think if you bring him in as a guy who's going to be your third backer and who can kind of fill that role with Drew Tranquil when he's gone. So give me Jacob Rodriguez here Pretty easy pick in terms of the talent.
Jacob
Yes.
Rodriguez in the third round would be an absolute steal.
Yeah.
And I don't foresee that happening in him being available at this point in a billion other mock draft simulators. Like this would be a home run slam dunk if he was sitting here at this spot. Like that's bananas.
Yeah, that is good. That is good value. Okay, so it goes to me now, and I'm like, ooh, I can finally take an edge rusher. I just don't even love any of these edge rushers here. I mean, remind me again, how big is denied Dennis Sutton? Is he good? Is he all
He
He's
right?
big. Yeah,
is.
he's 6'6" and
Okay,
Yeah, he's not a little
something
guy.
like.
he's big enough. Okay, because that's what I'm kind of leaning. I need an edge rusher. I mean, that's just.
I mean, he
I'm
had a
leaning edge.
996 RAS,
Yeah,
so
yeah. So I mean, that's solid. You know, the only
do
other
with that what
things
you will.
I would really look at here, I think like running back. No.
Hey, guess what? He's heavy-footed and has stiff angles who's not very fluid. Oh God, no, we've never seen that at edge in Kansas City before. Never.
If I were, if I didn't choose a corner or wide receiver already, there's some options I like. Like there's a lot of corners here that I like. Zachariah Branch is here at wide receiver. I like. Even Daryl Jackson's here. That's pretty solid. Kyle Lewis, he's a good linebacker. There's some guy. Bryce Lance is here still. I mean, there's some good guys, but I do think I need an edge rusher, and denied Dennis Sutton. He's I think he'll do just fine. So we'll go with Dennis Sutton. You got to add some pass rush juice somehow, and at least he's in that more spagsy type of mold. So that will be my pick for this third rounder here. Kyle, you're up to bat. No linebacker and no edge rusher.
No linebacker, no edge rusher, huh? Well, will you do me a quick favor and flip over to the corner tab?
Corner. Yeah, a lot of good corners here. A lot of good corners here.
Sorry, I'm keeping track of everything. So yeah, there's several names I like there. Will Lee for sure. Keontae Scott also. Can we go to the defensive tackle room, please?
Dale Jackson. Dante
Yeah.
Portnoy.
So those two are two of my favorite guys at the defensive tackle position in this class. We talked about it a little bit on that episode of the prospects. I really enjoy both of those individuals on the interior. I think they both provide you something to counter with Chris Jones. Daryl's not gonna like blow you away with his pass rush, but he's also 6'5", 340. So I don't need him to blow me away with the pass rush if he can just, pick a guy up and walk off with him if he so chooses. That's so fine with me too. And then not quite as tall, but Corleone is 6'1", 335. And he has some more advanced hands. The only thing with him is the injury stuff, which is the Trey Smith conversation he had. Blood clots, I believe, in his lungs, also similar to Mr. Trey. There's just the medical stuff there. That would be a Rick Burkholder question. So that's something. Can you show me tight end really fast? I'm just curious. That's what I thought. Okay, I don't like it. We're gonna go back to D tackle, and I'm gonna take Mr. Jackson Jr. If it comes down to the medicals, and since I don't know squat about the medicals, I'm gonna go on the safer side and go with Jackson. Whereas the only person that knows the answer to the Corleone question is Rick Burkholder and Brett Veach, and so that's why I'm not gonna try to read the crystal ball. I'm just gonna go with what we know as of right now. And that there were some concerns there, and so I'll go with Daryl Jackson instead. But it's a coin flip. I like both of those guys a lot. They both have their little upsides, but Daryl Jackson Jr. is a monster of a human.
Yeah,
Just
he is a massive,
big old boy.
massive humanity in the middle. I am a big Daryl Jackson fan. Yeah, that's a good pick.
All right, Randy. So no linebacker, edge, or D tackle. What are you thinking?
Okay, so I've got an edge, I've got a D tackle, and I've got a corner. This is kind of that area that I was expecting to take corner. because the guy that I wanted is still sitting there. But I do have a corner. We will probably take more than one corner in this draft.
Definitely could.
But in my strategy, there is another target that I really like, and I don't know if he'll be around at 109. There's a chance. But I have to put my I shouldn't say slight bias. I have to put my bias away for a little bit. I'm going for the guys that I think the Chiefs will pick or could use and best fits. So I'm going to go with another corner, and I will take Keontae Scott.
That's a good choice. That is a good choice. Keontae Scott is a dog. And
Yeah, he is like I mentioned in our corner episode. He is one of my absolute very favorite corners in this draft. He is an absolute, as Garrett says, dog. Like
dog.
he will lock down that slot for a long time. He is super versatile. He's physical in the run game. He will talk shit and he will back it up. And yeah, big fan of Keontae Scott right here.
All right. Well, as we advance to our last pick here, the fourth rounder.
And Randy didn't even mention his 4.33.
Yeah, like he's fast. Like there's nothing not to like about Keontae Scott.
Yeah. So we get here to pick 109. The guy I chose is still there. That's cool. That's always reassuring.
I need you to show me the wide receiver room. I have fingers crossed.
Oh, he ain't there, Randy.
He gone.
I
knew he wasn't going to make it.
89. Yeah, there was no chance. No.
There he goes. Yeah. So this is my, whenever I do these mock drafts, it's a coin toss for me at 74 and 109. Do I pull the trigger on Bryce Lance early, or do I hope and pray that he slips to 109? I went with the hope and pray this time. He did not slip. So now I have to pivot. Let's go to the L tab. I have 2 corners. I don't need any more corners.
You don't need any more corners, I feel like. You might. I don't know.
I do need a wide receiver. Safety is a possibility. Let's hit the tight end room real quick.
Roush, Jolly, Andrews.
Oh, wow.
I am a big Roush fan. However,
Where
Delp went 100. Trig went.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping maybe Delp would slide
Yeah.
along with Lance. They did not. I do like Roush. I think out of that tight end list, I think I would hold on for maybe another round into that 5th round, Mr. Kojal. Hit me with the
or Bentley.
Yeah,
Is that safety?
All right.
All right.
Oh man, what was the wide receiver room again?
Wide receivers.
I don't like Branch.
Hey, fun fact: that police report, Zachariah Branch, he's listed as like 5'10", not like 5'8".
I'm done with the midget brigade.
Oh, the blocking the sidewalk police report.
Yeah, for standing on the sidewalk.
What an absolute just joke of a situation!
Yeah.
Like, holy
What?
crap!
Yeah,
What the hell is happening?
Raised his draft stock. Wide receivers that can block. Gained an extra fight. You know.
Show me the tackles. Show me the tackles real quick.
Okay, tackle. Yeah.
Ooh, Mr. Bowery.
Yeah.
And guard.
Guard. That's a crazy one. Billy Strauth.
Billy.
Billy.
Still needs some development, but
Yeah.
good platform to work from.
All right, out of that list and out of those guys, I'm going to take a little bit of a flyer on a ball hawk, and I will take the safety, Mr. Bud Clark.
Bud Clark. All right. A lot of defensive backs for Randy, but that's all right. You know, we lose a bunch of defensive backs. You gotta get some back.
We do it. Yeah,
Randy
that room was decimated by free agency and obviously trading away Trent. So bringing in a couple of corners, I think we do need that ball hawk type of safety, which I think we are kind of devoid of our roster. Like, not a lot of interceptions out of that safety group. So it would be nice to have a bit of a center fielder out there, a bit of a hybrid who can do a little bit of everything. And Mr. Clark has shown the ability to get his hands on some footballs from time to time. So while this is not the direction I wanted to go, still a player that I really, really like.
All right, Kyle. For your last pick of mock draft warfare this year, what are you thinking? can't go safety.
Randy with the all 5 defensive player draft for the Chiefs this year in this.
The offensive guys I wanted just weren't.
I know it happens. Like I mean, hey, like I said,
And then you get left with a few positions that you wanted to take that you can't take, so you got to pivot.
all right. So with that in mind, I really like this board. This would be a crazy board to be available for Kansas City, even with 4 of us picking how we have been. There's some guy like Will Lee still here. A guy Garrett literally took last round, and Sutton is still sitting here on this simulator. Zachariah Branch, Kyle Lewis. I mean, Bud Clark was here. There's a lot of ways they can go based on how the top part of this draft went, which I think is something good for Chiefs fans to keep in mind. Is no matter what direction the top part of this draft goes in, there's some players at key positions later in this draft that are going to be able to contribute, whether that's at edge, whether that's at corner, whether that's at wide receiver, whether that's at tight end. There are like Randy mentioned, Koziel, or I mentioned Dallin as guys in the tight end room in that 5th, 6th range, which we're not going to get into on the simulator. But I think it's important to know that there's a lot of flexibility with the depth at some of the major positions. It may not be a super top heavy draft. The first round may look a lot like the Eric Fisher draft of the first round, but I think the depth of this draft will look a lot better in the long run than that draft did, which was one of the worst drafts ever.
Yeah.
So, that in mind, show me the wide receiver position really fast. I have Carnell Tate. I am aware he is on the list. If Zachariah Branch is sitting there at 109, I find it difficult for them to ignore that. I do. I find that tough.
I'd ignore it all day.
I know you would, but I know Kansas City and their love for explosive firework once in a unicorn type athlete. He may not be the prettiest in all the other things he does, but if he can catch the ball as a kick returner and makes 3 guys look dumb as he runs past them, they don't care about how pretty his wide receiver routes look. Yeah. If they can throw him the ball in the backfield behind the line of scrimmage and he can dance 6 guys, they do not care about his route running. What, Tom? He's small?
Don't matter.
I don't know what that is.
He's tiny.
Don't matter.
Yeah, so is Tyreek. They do not care.
Yeah.
They don't care.
There's it's fine.
Lock it in, Kyle.
Show me the safeties. Okay. Show me the safety group real fast.
No, I'm not going to do that, Kyle.
Or not the safety, the corner group. I'm sorry, I meant the corner group. I know he said no. Another guy that I like here at 109 a whole bunch, and I'm gone back and forth on, is Charles Dimmings out of SF Austin. If you had to tell me to pick between him and Will Lee, I would probably take him, honestly, over Will.
Devin Moore over both of them.
I like Devin Moore a lot more than Will also. So I'm going to do... I don't have a corner yet.
That's true.
I'm going to take Charles Dimmings here. I think that's a guy, even if they don't take him at 109... he might hang around till 149 because teams are wary of the Stephen F. Austin thing and take him at 149. Because I've seen that a bunch in mocks where I don't take him at 109 and he still slides down a ways. Mm-hmm. So there's some opportunity there for him to still be available late, but I like him a lot here and I don't have a corner. Otherwise, it's probably Zachariah Branch Garrett, yes. But I'm going to take Dimmings.
All right, well, that takes safety and corner off the board for me. There's some interesting picks that I could go with here. There's a lot of different things I could go with. I mean, we could take a tackle. I still haven't taken a tackle. Jude Bowery is kind of that. He wouldn't be a bad. I could still use another edge rusher. I don't necessarily the only other edge rusher I really like here is Anthony Lucas, but I think 109 would be a little steep for him. But I really like Anthony Lucas, obviously. Running back, I mean, Emmett Johnson is here. I do like Emmett Johnson. He is fun.
Only concern on him is pass protection.
Yeah. Tight end. Has anyone taken a tight end? Period. I don't think anyone. No one has taken a tight end. It just didn't quite work out that well. Sam Roush, he's all right. just just kind of
If I'm looking at tight end, it's in like round late 5, early or that pick 210. I've been
there's some tight
finding
ends I
going
wouldn't
through this
mind picking
process.
higher. It's just it didn't really, it didn't like Oscar Delp.
Right,
If
but
he
where
would have
they
made it
fall,
here, like only 9 picks away
Yeah.
from Delp, I would, you could even trade up for Delp if if you wanted to.
you could you
Um,
could pop a fifth, one of the later fifths, and move up, or that pick 210 and move up to get him if you're gonna go up 10 picks or whatever in
I think I'm gonna.
fourth
Kyle
round.
Lewis is still on the board right here.
I like it.
And he's a really good player. I mean, he's got really solid movement skills. Like this is kind of projecting for the future after Drew Tranquil. If you don't really love Jeffrey Bassa, um, it's between him and Branch for me. It's like I said, I think it is crazy that Branch is still here. I already have a wide receiver, but like, to get another one, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. But I'm gonna choose Kyle Lewis. I'm gonna go with it. He's a really good athlete. Yeah, I like Kyle Lewis. I think he's a good pick, especially if you're picking him in the 4th round here. Like I think that's a solid bet for you. So
You're taking him as a linebacker, correct?
you said what?
You're taking him as a linebacker.
Yeah. I mean, he's a defensive player. Yeah.
I was curious because he technically played safety in college, so it's one of those.
This is a linebacker here, so
Yeah.
Yes,
That's right. He's still a good player regardless. I like it.
All right, Tom. No safety, corner, or linebacker for
He's
you.
He's like the new prototypical nickel linebacker.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who would me? Who would me?
Very much so.
I am really glad neither of you took Zachariah Branch because not only do I need a wide receiver, but Zachariah Branch is not the receiver that I want. And he is,
Do it, Tom. Do it.
I did want to kind of save receiver for
I'm
him.
about to zig when you think I'm going to zag. You're not ready for this one because this is not a player we talked about a whole lot. This is not a player
He's going to take Caldwell.
Hold on. I'm sending a message before this happens because I think I do know who it is, and I want to see if I'm correct. Since he said no, I'm going to send this to Garrett so that Garrett.
All right, they're guessing. They're guessing in the group chat.
Yeah.
No, I'm not sending it in the group chat because I don't want you seeing it and changing it. So I'm sending it directly to Garrett.
Okay, Garrett knows I'm going with a wide receiver who's not a midget, who is 6'2" and change and has 10-inch hands, ran a 4.36. I'm going with Deshaun Stribling out of Ole Miss. I don't know if he'll be there.
Yep. Kyle did guess that shit.
It's very unlikely. We didn't talk about him a whole lot in the wide receiver episode. Kyle wins.
Kyle wins. He doesn't guess the Chiefs pick, but he guesses Tom's pick. So that's something.
Yeah, I don't know what to give
I do,
but he lives in my mind. There's just been some more buzz. I went back and I'm like, okay, I'm not sold on it, but honestly, here I think it's good value. I think that he has of the guys on that board, he has the highest like upside, and even without that, I think he's like a slightly more physical MVS type of player. So love the size profile. I think he's an interesting one. So and I needed an offensive playmaker. So.
Yeah, that's valid. Hey, I got to add someone on the offense for sure. So, all right. Well, hey, that wraps it up. We actually kept it to a reasonable amount of time. I feel like we did good. I feel like we had a good mock draft warfare this time.
That was actually surprising. We probably could have done the rest of those. I thought that was going to take far longer.
Let's do all 7 rounds.
We have like 3 picks in the 5th round.
That would be kind of crazy. That would kind of be crazy. Okay, so that's it. We did it. So I'm gonna go through it. I'll probably in post editing I'll flash up on the screen everyone's results on screen so you guys can see it. But we'll go through each person. Well, I'll let each person explain their own draft actually. So Randy, you were the start. Let us know your 5 guys here.
Yeah, so I started off with Bane. I really think he is the crown jewel of that first round, especially of positions that we need. We mentioned earlier too about all the smoke screens of moving up and all this nonsense, but I'm like, I think there's a real possibility that if we stay at 9 that he's available. So Bane is one of my favorite players of this draft. He's just a football player through and through. He's versatile. Everybody's going to bag on the short arms. Everybody knows I don't give a shit about that. So Bain's my guy in the first pick. Coming back to 29, had some thoughts about going corner because it is a really good interior defensive line class, and it has some depth. But when you have a stone wall type run defender like Christian Miller sitting there, and some other really good corners that I like later in the draft, I decided to pull the trigger and bolster the defensive line some more because Chris Jones is not getting any younger. Mr. Tonga, our free agent nose tackle, is that. But we need a rotation of guys in there to stay fresh and to keep eating up double teams so Chris doesn't constantly get double teamed. Slipping back to number 40 coming around, I thought about taking this guy at 29. Having Colton Hood sitting there at 40 was a surprise to me. Usually in a lot of the mock drafts that I do, the corner is typically that second first-round pick that we have, and then I go interior defensive line with a guy like Lee Hunter at 40. But changed it up just a little bit. Hood fits our system really, really well. And his press man skills and his ability to play physical is top notch. So I'm happy there. Was not my plan to go corner back to back, but like I mentioned too, I was toying with the idea of going wide receiver here with Bryce Lance, but rolled the dice to see if he would make it to 109. He did not. But again, it kind of looks like I'm a bit of a closet Miami Hurricane fan, which couldn't be farther from the truth. I typically despise Miami because I grew up a Nebraska Cornhusker fan. So, but Keontae Scott, absolute dog. Slot, maniac, blitzing, tackling, attitude. I think he could be a really, really fun and a really, really solid player to lock down that spot that McDuffie locked up while he was here. And then my last pick, decided to apparently stay with the full defensive draft. As this thing snakes around and positions are picked, opportunities that I probably would have gone offense before was not available. So I finished out the draft with Bud Clark, a ball hawking safety from TCU. So I think that's something our secondary has really, really lacked in the last few years is a safety who really has an eye for attacking the ball and getting turnovers. So full defensive draft for me. 3 DBs in a DB room that lost a lot of starters. So we need to replenish that. And that's my draft. Defensive heavy.
Very defensive heavy, but hey, pretty solid. Pretty solid, can't lie. Kyle?
I got a lot of dogs in there that I really, really like, so I'm happy with it.
Nice. Kyle, how do you feel about year 5?
I mean, started with Carnell Tate after Ruben Bain was gone. You can't be mad about adding a guy he's a guy. He's going to be a 1 at worst 1B to a 2A. Probably is kind of his floor area with what we've seen in college, what we've seen from his skill set, what we've seen with his development with his coaching tree. He just feels, honestly, it's weird, but he kind of feels safe, and that's fine. At pick 9, safe is good. Get good football players with early draft picks, especially if it's at a premium position. So I like that. The Blake Miller pick, look, man, they always try to update and increase offensive line depth. They've had some holes at backup tackle in the past. Well, Wanye is fine for like a game and a half until they figure him out or his knee starts hurting again. You don't really have anything else behind Jalen Moore and Josh Simmons. Jalen Moore's on a 1-year deal. So Blake Miller at 29, he can play right. If you need him to in a worst case scenario, he can move over to the left for Josh Simmons if something were to happen, which I don't foresee that. I think that's kind of been overblown at this point. But you take that there, you increase your depth, you potentially lock up right tackle at cheap for the future so you can reallocate the Jalen Moore funds after this season and move on there. And so that takes care of that. Then you go Malachi Lawrence at edge because we needed an edge. Tom took Zion Young. Bain was already gone. I'm not a TJ Parker fan necessarily. I think of the group with Akis and Lawrence and the other two guys Tom mentioned during the process of this. I think those are the types of guys that fit kind of what they do, that make the most sense. So I went that route. Then you just get a monster of a human at 74 and Daryl Jackson Jr. that can increase and improve that interior defensive line, take some pressure off of Chris. He is very much a space eater who can also you can use on passing downs if you need to, but you also have Omar Norman Lott, so like make those two work together. Kind of like what you probably I thought was the plan with Mike Pennell and him last year until you guys decided to lose your minds and do Derek Naughty things with the Jets, and then God knows what else took place. That whole defensive line group from last year was such a clusterfuck. It didn't even I don't know. And then corner, because they need secondary help. And I went with a guy who you may or may not see at that rate or may fall lower, but I like Demings a lot. I think he fits into the mold of what the Chiefs like to do, and he's below the Mason-Dixon line. And he's from a small school, and that's what they do at that point of the draft because that is the 4th round. So that's the pick I took.
All right, it's good, solid lineup for you, Kyle. I like it. For me, I had 5 picks here. Starting off with Jermod McCoy at 9, which is a little rich, definitely maybe a little rich. The way this exercise goes, you kind of have to take some swings sometimes on positions. But, really high upside guy. You're betting on him to be, your next lockdown corner for the next 4 to 5 years. Even though the Chiefs don't, the Chiefs might not pay him long term because we just don't do that with corners. But you get a lockdown guy, health permitting, for the next 4 to 5 years at least. He's got a lot of really good traits that you like from him. Also, he went to the same high school as Patrick Mahomes. He went to a Mahomes, camp or something when he was a kid. So, Mahomes has endorsed him throughout this process a lot. So I would not be surprised if it wasn't at 9, if Jermod McCoy somehow ended up as a Chief anyways, if he maybe at 29, if he ends up falling that far. But, I don't necessarily hate the pick. You're just, it's a little bit of a risk with the injuries stuff and whatnot. So, and then I followed up at pick 29 with Chris Bell. Once again, a little bit rich maybe, but like we kind of alluded to, especially during our wide receiver prospect talk, it's like this guy was a really, really good prospect that, injuries and some other things kind of hampered his stock a little bit. But I think, once again, you're betting on upside, you're betting on health, and that he can be a really solid wide receiver for you for the foreseeable future. Especially if you don't think that Rashee Rice is necessarily going to get another contract from you. I think he has a lot of similarities to Rashee Rice and can kind of do some X receiver type stuff that, Chiefs fans have been wanting forever to get an X receiver. So, he can kind of do it all. He's got great route running, really solid guy. You can build him and Xavier Worthy for the next 2 years, at least 2-3 years, and have a solid wide receiver group. Then we went Lee Hunter at 40, really, really solid defensive tackle, big dude. He's your nose tackle next to Chris for, the next couple years. And, you haven't really invested this much next to Chris Jones in a while. Obviously, you have Omar Norman Lott you drafted last year. Now you added Lee Hunter. And I think overall the D-line gets a lot better. And, you don't have to worry about having Derek Naughty and Mike Pennell having to rely on them. Even though I like Mike Pennell, I don't like Derek Naughty, but just get some youth into that position and let the big fella start eating. Then we got Dennis Sutton. I really hope that the Chiefs draft an edge rusher before this pick, and I think it's very likely. But if they decide to double dip at edge rusher and get another guy in the 3rd, 4th round. He fits all the measurables that you'd like. He's got some good explosion to him. And as another complement guy behind, Gelati and Karlaftis, I think he'd be really good for the rotation. And last but not least, Kyle Lewis, linebacker. This is the long-term projections for replacing Drew Tranquill. And, you lost Leo Chenal this year. So, you kind of have to keep on reinvigorating the linebacker room. At worst, he's, a kind of a hybrid guy. You can do some safety stuff with him and move him around. He's also going to be a really solid special teamer for you, I bet. So you immediately get better at that position and don't have to necessarily be pigeonholed into, keeping it with Drew Tranquill and, if Jeffrey Basa's development doesn't exactly go how you're looking, or maybe if it does, and then you have, a couple young athletic linebackers that can kind of work around Nick Bolton for you. So I'm not too mad about my draft. I would like to have Ruben Bain in it, but other than that, or Mekhi Lemon, actually, that would also be a good option. But this one's all right. Tom, what do you think of yours?
I think I'm going to get roasted in the comments. I don't think the players I took are going to be popular. I
Yeah.
think I feel really good about the positions. I understand, again, the pick 9, the tackle. Part of that was I knew we were headed that way just with the other positions that were taken. Obviously, in that situation, also Caleb Downs was off the board. So there is a reality where an offensive tackle is taken at 9. We can feel however we want to feel about it, but um, I think it's never bad to take an offensive lineman, generally speaking. If you can improve your offensive line play, so be it. It's not the most exciting pick. You guys already know how much I love Zion Young. I do think that there is good value at that 29-40 turn for the defensive end. Um, you know, set up. So I think that depending on how they stack those guys, and that's where you could see that move up from 29, or even jumping back up from 40. Maybe back into the first round. Um, that's where I think if they don't go, I think they have some freedom to go best player available on their board at pick 9 because of that depth. Randy said it. Bain is awesome, but the gap between Bain and that next tier isn't a chasm by any means. So, yeah, I liked the Zion Young pick probably more than the Freeling pick, but was ready for that. And then the turn with the second and third round picks, I just think you get stronger up the middle on your defense. AJ Halsey, I think, is again very underrated for what he brings to the table. A little bit of do it all. I think when we talked about him on the preview, I said he's very Justin Reed esque in terms of you can play him center, you can play him up. I think he's got more ball skills than Justin. So, and then same thing, Jacob Rodriguez, a player who just is an anomaly in terms of his turnover. Coaches rave about him. There's you can't even really say he's small, right? He's just a smaller linebacker, more modern linebacker. Tested really well athletically. I think he'd just be again that'd be great value. You run that card, and then Sean Striblin to round it out. We just need a playmaker, and I think that's as much as we may want one early. I think we Tate at the top there, then you are probably looking at getting one of those guys a little bit later on. So I feel good about the positions. Not sure if everyone's going to love the players. I did go a little bit on my own rankings a little more, but yeah, we'll see. Maybe Brett Veach is finally ready to listen to me.
Yeah, you never know. You never know.
Some things I want to point out going through this. This is a process that kind of should give you a feel of where the draft is from a talent perspective of a Chiefs fit. I want to point out, of the 20 guys, 5 offensive players. Total. 2 of them being tackles. In the first 5 picks for everybody, all of us that did this, when we went through this exercise of all of the things that we went through and all the guys that were on the board. So, understand this draft could look more like they're working on the defense again than it being a load up the offense scenario. I do think they have some shorter term answers this year on the offensive side of the ball. Is part of the reason for that. I do think this draft has more depth on the defensive side of the ball. I just think that's a fact of this draft class. The wide receiver position does have a lot of guys. It always does. It always will. Every college in the country throws the ball all over the yard now. It's just how it works. There are lots of guys. But because there are lots of guys and there's not necessarily a lot of elite guys, teams can kind of just go through and pick their poison on which one of those or maybe 2 of those that they want, and I think you're going to do that later on in this draft. So going through this exercise, and we only do the first 4 rounds, You don't see a lot of offense for this Chiefs team on our prediction setups because I think we all pretty much think they're going to look at that in the later rounds. Whether that's wide receiver, running back, or tight end, I think there's a lot more available in the offensive category in the later parts of this draft than there is on the defensive side. Whereas there's more depth at the top of in the middle of this class on the defense, and that's why you see it kind of go this way.
Yeah, it's very valid. Yeah, they signed Kenneth Walker, so that kind of hampers any running back conversations in the top 4 picks, or so.
And it's a really weak running back class.
Yeah. You bring back Tyquan Thornton,
at
so
the top.
you have kind of more answers in the wide receiver room. You still definitely, I think, add someone, but I think a wide receiver addition is maybe a next year priority, if anything. A guy that you're looking.
It's either a top guy or a guy you can pick later.
Well, that's the big thing I think with wide receiver. It's like I feel like if you don't pick a guy like Tate or Lemon at the very top who can like immediately carve himself out as like a number 1 guy for you, I feel like any other guy, even at a pick 29, I feel like it's more so you're kind of get him acclimated, get him reps this year, and then it's like next year, if Rasheed's not there, then you can really eat. So that's kind of the conversation with wide receiver. Tight end, I think we feel the tight end room is okay, and there's some good options, but I don't think we need to reach for it. And then just tackle is the big thing.
And this tight end classes
don't quite know how they feel about the tackles, so should be interesting. But yeah, for us it was definitely defensive heavy, so is what it is. We'll see how it works, but that's it. That's everything. We did it. We have accomplished the 2026 draft season, and very happy with how this season went, this off season so far. Very fun. It's always fun to get to talk draft prospects, and I think this year has been a very fun challenge of the different picks that we've got and all the different needs that we have, and the way this draft class is set up. It's not the deepest class. It's definitely a unique class. I think you could say that you would rather have these problems and draft picks in a different class, but we're here, and we gotta work with it. So this is just one scenario, this mock draft warfare of what could potentially be the case, and I think you have to find the little nuggets that really make the difference between some of these guys, because I think there is going to be some stark differences between positional rankings and prospects of different teams. One team might have a guy as a 2nd rounder, another team might have him as a 4th rounder, and that's just kind of how this draft is going to go. So we will wait and see. Thursday night, kicking off round 1, then Friday and Saturday finishing up the rest of the rounds. We're done. We don't have any more episodes until after the draft, so we'll be back after the draft to give our quick thoughts on draft picks, and then after that, we'll probably have many more episodes evaluating those guys and whatnot. We'll probably take a little bit of a break after the draft, after that draft recap episode, because we've been going really hard the past couple weeks of getting out this content. So, we appreciate everyone for rocking with us and tuning in for all of this. And it should be some fun fireworks Thursday. So be sure to follow us at Kingdom Says Pod, Facebook, X, and Instagram. Check us out, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you get your podcasts at. You can, like I mentioned earlier in the show, you can watch us on Spotify now, so that's cool. You should definitely go tune into that, or just go over to our YouTube. You can watch us on there, see all of our beautiful faces and all these beautiful graphics I have on the screen for you. And until we have some new Chiefs members, that is all we've got for you. So everyone have a great rest of your week.
Really important to watch this one.
Yeah,
this is a good one.
It'll be it's much easier with the visual. And as always, I mean, we don't like
visual aids importante.
Yes, we don't like to sit here and bag and pander because you guys get that all the time from everywhere. I will say this is a unique thing. I think we're the only ones who do anything like this. It's really fun every year. Usually, you guys have always been awesome at supporting us. We appreciate that. Like Garrett said, we have really been hitting the books on breaking down every position group available. These guys have been awesome this year, have really dug in, and it's a big year for the Chiefs and for their team building. So I'm not even going to ask you to like, subscribe, and follow because I already know you're going to do that because you always show us love. I'm just going to say thank you in advance for all the love and support that you have showed us and will continue to show us. And once we get to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, Kyle's going to do a striptease.
I don't know about that, but we will have giveaways for it. And I will say this, I will put this out there. If you do go over and you watch the episode you can see the simulator and you can see when Garrett is showing the different picks and the guys that are available on the boards. If you want to put your own as the fifth after you guys have listened to all our selections and want to make a different selection or whatever and do that and put your list down there, do that, and we'll maybe go through the best one in the comments and see what we can find. As far as I may have some stuff available for giveaways, so put them in the YouTube comments or the Spotify comments. When we see them, we'll get through them and then we'll go from there. But hop over, watch it on YouTube or Spotify so you can actually see what we're looking at and not just be like, okay, well, they're talking about drafting these guys, but like I need to be able to see it visually. Garrett put together a really awesome graphic set and built the whole thing out. We used our friend Charles Goldman over at A to Z Sports, their simulator, and kind of made that work so you guys can see it. So go visually inspect us. I know, and we're a little tiny on the screen, so we're ugly and you don't have to see us, but the simulator is there.
Yeah, and let us know who did the best and whose mock draft is your favorite, and tell us how much of idiots we are for all passing on Mekhi Lemon. You know,
And everybody say how much you hate Tom's because he took a tackle at 9, because we know that's coming.
Tell Tom he's an idiot for that. He should have chosen a long snapper at 9 instead. So, all right, I think that's it. I think we did it. So,
it's a heck of a draft year. Can't wait to see exactly how this thing unfolds. I'll be watching it in.
Oh yeah! Everybody tag Randy at pick 3 and tell him that we took David Bailey after we traded with the Cardinals.
We could let you control that. Yeah.
That will send me through the roof. But
I'll just start making.
If it didn't happen, tell him it did anyway.
I'll just start making fake pick graphics and send them into the group chat. Oh my God, Ty Simpson at 29, Randy.
Yeah. So I will be on vacation, so I don't get to watch this live. I will be halfway around the world, but so I will be waking up.
He's gonna tape delay the NFL draft, boys and girls. He is. That's how dedicated Randy is.
I will be waking up to discover what the Chiefs have done a day prior or a day late. So we'll see how this goes.
Yep, we'll see how right or wrong we are. So that's it. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for rocking with us, and we will see you guys on the next episode of the Kingdom Says.